Okay. So for last class, we stopped at functions, and for this class, I plan to cover input and output and errors and exceptions. So I have to say that these are actually like a kind of advanced topics, a bit advanced topics in Python, and
Okay.
for data analysis, data science, mostly this kind of topics are not discussed, but I just feel like I should include them. And also when we got to object-oriented programming, we would
Mhm.
just touch surface of OOP and not really go deep into creating advanced classes. But I just want
Okay.
to feel like, okay, I just feel like I should include this topic so that we have a full introduction to Python class before we move to the next. So far, just a 5-minute recap of what we have done so far. So far, we have looked at what Python syntax looks like, how we can perform arithmetic operation in Python, um, the importance of variables, and we look at variable scope, global and local variables. We briefly look at how to format our output in different ways,
Mhm.
using the string modulos and then the string.format method, and then the very common f strings method now. And then we look at the different data types, talking about strings in integer, float, complex. We talk about list, tuples, and range. And we look at some of the operations we can perform on strings. And we mentioned that strings are like lists of characters.
Mhm.
So we can find the length of a string. We can index a string. We can subset a string, just like we can do with lists as well. We can also look at some of the methods that we can do on strings, like the upper that returns the string in uppercase, and we can replace a string and we can split a string. Where one of the methods that I used just yesterday when I was working on a particular project for my research is this replace method. So what happened was that I got some files from um, a particular firm, some LiDAR files. So when I got the files are not properly named. So they have some naming issues, like they put space in between the file names. And for the next step that I want to do, for the processing that I want to do, having space in the name will give me an error, right? So I have to remove the space. So I use the dot replace method. So I just list all the files and I say, okay, if there is any of these files that have this space in their name, replace the space with nothing. So you just replace the space and all that. So you find it very useful. Yeah, then we look at list.
Mhm.
Yep.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
look at list. We look at how we can.
So I'm sorry. So you replaced the space?
Mhm.
Is that right? Okay, you just
Yeah,
replaced the space everywhere because then the space is what was interrupting being able to interpret the data. Is that right?
exactly. It
Okay.
is. It's a very. I'm going to show you quickly one implementation of that.
Okay.
This is going into software development. Yeah, this is Nigeria. I'm going to find this. Use code. Okay, so we have this ICE code script. So this package is a Python package for working on LiDAR data. It's mostly developed by one guy in my research group, Zach, and Brent and Shad and myself and Kagina. So what I want to show you here is a very good implementation of string.replace. My internet is really slow. Well, oops, no, this is not what I want.
Copters.
Yeah, there is a script. Okay. So this is a directory space strips. Okay. So basically, it's a long script actually, but what I want to show you is, so what we are doing here is we are using dot replace here. So what we are basically doing is that we are working through a folder, we are taking all the files and all the folders in that folder, and then we are finding that, okay, if we want to replace here, it's a function. So you see the replace here is empty. That means we are replacing with empty stuffs. So here, you see the difference here. This one is space, and then the replace here is no space. So what this one is doing basically is that it is replacing a space with no space. It's a very simple tweak. So it's just using the replace method anyways. Yeah.
It's really complicated, it seems like, just to do a replace a space with no space.
So it's complicated, yeah, because it is very interactive. This is the basic thing it's doing is to replace the space with no space, or remember this is a function, remember this is a function, and we talk about function. So what it does is that it takes, normally it replaces a space with no space. The default argument here is no space, but you can call the function to replace a space with another character. So you can say, okay, I want to replace a space with maybe S or maybe W or maybe N or whatever. So in that case, when you call the function, you supply the parent directory. This is parent directory. And then you now supply the argument, any character that you want to replace with. And then when the function is about to be executed, it prints a warning that, warning, you are about to replace all white spaces with whatever character you specified, or with any no space in the path that you specified. So, and it takes user input. So it asks you to, like, do you want to continue? Yes, no. So it's a lot of making it more user friendly, right? So it's going to warn you, it's going to ask if you want to continue, and then it takes it. This is just an implementation of everything we have been doing. And what this does is that if you supplied Y, right, it's check if if you put in an option after it asks you if you want to continue, it's check if the character you enter is Y, right? So if the character you enter is Y, then it walk through the folder, and then it does the replacement for files, and then it does that for folder also. It's a very complex, it's not complex, but you don't need to really, I just want to show you the implementation of
that's neat. That's neat. And so Zach, so the person, Zach, who's running shorter scripts, is that something that then you just go and find when you're looking, for that functionality, or how does that work for you?
Oh, okay. So, you mean the guy that managed this package? Zach? So we have this as a Python package on GitHub repo. So if you want to use the function, you need to install it. It's like installing a Python package. So a way to install it is, there are many ways you can install a package. You can either, if the package is available on Conda or on pip or something, it can be pip installable on Conda installed. But for this, it is not yet available on Conda, but to install this one, what you need to do is you have to clone this repository, and
Yeah.
then just activate, you create an environment and then activate the repository. So when you activate the repository, then you can now call it, right? Okay, from this module, import this particular function. This is into software engineering. Yeah.
Neat.
Okay, let's go on. Let's continue. Okay, so we look at some of the method, some of the operations we can perform on list, how we can update a list, how we can change the content of a list and all that. And then we talk about conditions and how we can create conditional statements. And we mentioned loop. How do we create repetitive tasks with Python? And then we look at more data structures. How do we create list of lists? And tuple was the distinction between a tuple and a list. And we say that the major difference is that a tuple is not mutable, while a list is mutable. Then we talk about sets, right? A very important distinction between set and order is that a set is unordered. So when we put in a list, when we supply a list of elements to a set, it's going to return the set with unique elements. There is no repetition, and then the order is going to be removed. You just return it the way it wants. And we look at dictionaries and we say these are a set of key value pairs. So the indexing of a dictionary is different from the way we index a list, right? Because we have keys. So to index a dictionary, we have to use the key to index it, right? And then we talk about the particular function to get the position and values of an iterable object, which is the enumerate, right? For dictionary, we have x.keys that return keys, and x.values that return the values, and x.items that return the key values, right? Then the last class we talk about functions, how we define functions, how we can supply functions without arguments. And the significance of writing functions is that it makes us to avoid having to type many codes multiple times. So we just put the codes in a function and we call the function and we reuse the codes over and over and again with dynamic argument values. And then we look at different approaches to call the functions and different arrangement of the argument to the functions. Then we talk about positional argument and key values arguments. And we talk about how do we define function with variable number of argument, and we say that to do that we can use the wildcard symbol, the asterisk, and then the argument name, which most times they use args. And then also we can use the same concept to for variable number of keyword arguments. So we just use asterisk. Okay. Okay, so that's where we start. So now we'll talk about input and output more. Then before we talk about exceptions handling. Initially, in one of the past classes, we look at the print function, and we look at the modulo method, the dot format method, and the f-string method, which is now commonly used. And if you remember, the f-string method is using f, just quoting your string in f, right? Let me put it here. So it's just like f before your string. So this is a string. It's basically this. So this is what it's doing. But the difference is that by putting f before it, we can put a replacement field, which is going to be like a variable or something. Let me run all of these things. I think I'm going to get some errors. I will just, because I want to use some variables from our previous classes. I need to comment this out. So I'm going to get error here. feel I need to comment out. Okay, it's asking me for something. Okay, good. Now, so the thing about F-string is that we can put a text and include a replacement field that will take variables or expressions in the string. So for instance, I can say that F so this is a replacement field, right? Age, years old. I know that I have a variable age defined somewhere, I know, from the previous code. So it will just print the value that we have. So I'm 24 years old. So this is the beauty of the F string. We can also impute like a kind of expression instead of a variable. We can say that the division of 7 by 3 is, so this is 7 divided by 3. Right, so it will give us the answer, right? So the division of 7 by 3 is 7.333 and all that. Yep.
Yeah.
So now the replacement field, this field, so far we have been seeing how do we do simple variable expression in a string, right? But we can make it more human readable. We can change the syntax, I mean the format, basically. We can change the format, how the values are outputted to the print stuffs. So basically the replacement field can be formatted in this style. So the first one is always the variable that we want to output. The second starts with the exclamation mark and the conversion style. So usually they don't, most times, because Python normally use string as the conversion, so we don't need to change that. So people don't change the second one. But the third one, which is mostly used, is the colon and the semicolon and the format specifier. So this format specifier is usually like, how do we want the output to be formatted? This is what is most important. And there are so many options. We can like write this colon and then put some numbers or format for how it is aligned. Is it aligned to the left or to the right, or what is the width, what is the space? And then, but the two most important style is the dot precision. This dot so is talking about the precision. What's the precision of the output, especially for floating data types, right?
Oh, sure,
So
sure. Okay.
what's the precision that you want to show? For instance, when we divide 7 by 3, we have 2.333333 something. So this dot precision format is going to guide the precision style that we will show to the console. And then this type is talking about what is the data type of the variable or the stuff that you want to print. Is it a string? Is it an integer? Is it a float? And is it stuff like that? So let's just see that. For instance, I'm going to copy this again. I'm going to copy this again, and now if I run this, it's going to show by default just output the answer as many position as it. But if I say I'm not interested in so many decimal points, I want just two decimal places, right? That is the position I want. So what we do is that we were going to add a semicolon, which is indicating that I want to format the style. And for the position, there is dot 2, right? And then the last one is the type, which is float, right? It's a floating type. So I'll just put F. So
Oh,
you
okay.
see, this is what, the style has been modified. So this is the format specifier. So we can also do this in as a float, right? I mean, as an integer. Oh, sorry. Unknown format codes for object of type float. So what happened is that the answer for 7 divided by 3 is a float. So when I try to change it to an integer, they say that no, this is a float. You can't convert it to an integer, right? So that is why we got this. So it's better to know what is the output from your operation, and when you get a wrong something, you know what is wrong. So this works. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Yep.
Okay. So, but some projects might require that the output is written to a file for future use, right? For instance, on the project I showed you, ICWordcopters, when we are performing when we use the package, right, we actually write some of the results to a file, right? We just like get the results, and normally we write like the processing pipeline. Like, okay, I have removed the white space. After removing this white space, I went to the next steps of converting the data to this particular type, and I did this and I did that. So we just log this kind of logging all the steps for the package in a particular text file. So this is what we want to show next, that how do we write to a file for future use? So but firstly, we'll look at how do we even read from a file? How do we open a file and read from it, and then append and then change the content of the file?
I see. Like read CSV or something like that.
Yeah, like read CSV, but here we're talking about a text file actually. I will read a text file. Yeah. So this is the background of many packages that support read functions, right? They also have to like open the file in the right mode, in the proper mode, and then read the content and output the content. But for instance, read CSV is a method for pandas, right? The pandas method. So pandas build upon many Python method and functions. Do you understand? But here we are just looking at how to use the open function of Python to to open a text file and then read it and then write something to it. Right? We have not gotten to the pandas method. We get there eventually when we start looking at this thing. But right now I'm just like, okay, let's just see how to do this thing with Python. Okay. So if we have a file that we want to open, we use the open function. And the open is an inbuilt function in Python that returns a file object. So when we use open, it returns an object. And the object, we can now use different method on the object. We can use like, for instance, let's say I have created a file here. I'm going to open this in another. Let me open it in another window so that we see it by the side. Okay. This is the content.
Naheem, I have to use the restroom. Right.
Okay.
I'll be right back. Okay.
All
go
right.
ahead.
No. All right.
Okay. Yeah, man. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, like I was saying, the open is a Python built-in function that returns a file object. So if we say that open greetings.txt for that,
Mm.
right?
Hey, Naheem, how do you highlight everything and then just put the quotes on both sides automatically?
Yeah, so if you are using a Jupyter notebook, or you are using the notebook in VS Code, whatever, Jupyter notebook normally would allow you to do that. If you highlight a particular text or something, or a particular code, and you, like for instance, if you say 2, 3, 2, 4, 5, and I want to put all this in bracket, I just highlight it and I just press the brackets, and it's going to put it open and close brackets. So it's intelligent to know that, yes, that this is Python. So if you open a bracket, you have to close it. So what I'm saying is that by highlighting the text, I'm telling the editor that, okay, I want to open and close the bracket for this particular text. Does it work for you if you try it?
Oh, that's the thing. How do you highlight it? I know it's really simple, but how do you highlight? Okay, here
You can use your mouse and just click on the right button and move over the text. Does it work?
Oh, okay. Is there a way for a keyboard to do that?
Yes, there is. For keyboard to do that, you you press the shift, you hold the shift, and then you hold the what's it called? The backspace or the forward button based on
Oh,
where you want to
okay.
highlight. Does that work?
It does, and then when I try to put it in parentheses, it just wipes everything out and gives me a parenthesis. That's
Uh,
interesting.
oh really? And you are in which can you share your screen? Let's see that again.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm just in VS Code. Here, I'll share.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Okay.
I'll change that. Sharing something.
Okay.
Okay, can you try that now?
So if I'm just right here and I push
Did you?
control.
I didn't see that. I didn't see your screen. I'm not seeing your screen yet.
Oh,
Okay, I'm seeing it now. I
okay.
can see it now. Yeah.
So I'm pushing control. No, that must not do it. All right, I'll push shift. There it is. And then, and so I've highlighted it with shift and the arrows, and then I go up to do the brackets or the parentheses. Oh, what worked that time?
It worked.
So what I was doing is I was doing the end, I was doing that
Yeah.
one, but not the first one.
It's the first one, exactly.
Oh, that's just ridiculous. Okay. Got it. All
Mhm.
right. Well, that's it. All right.
Okay.
Boom.
Yeah, so I'll start sharing again.
All right. Yeah, I like that trick.
Okay, so when I use the open function and I put, so this is the syntax for open. So it takes some parameters, some argument. The first one is the file name, right? Which is the name of the file you want to open. The second is the mode that you want to, in which you want to open the file, right? The mode in which you want to open the file. Oops, that's not Captura. Sorry. Then the third is encoding, which by default is UTF-8. And, this is the standard method for encoding text file. So we can open a file in read mode. We can open it in write mode. We can append to open in append mode. We use our mode to be A. And we can open in read and write mode. So the default mode is which is to read only. So if I open this thing here like this, I can save this as a variable, right? F equals to open the text. Then after that, I can now read the content of the file. F.read. So you see, hello everyone, thanks for checking. And then, so it outputs the content of the file. If we read the file this way, it is going to be problematic because the file is not closed. Normally, when we read a file, when we open a file, after we, perform some operation on it, we want to close it. And there is a way to but if we use this method, we have to explicitly close the file. Otherwise the file will remain open. So you can check now, f.closed. This is you see the file is not closed because f.closed give false. We can close the file by using the close method. Now we use close method. Now let's check if the file is closed. Closed. So what we did was we close the file and we check if it is closed. Object is not. Object is not called.
Because we made it, we tried to call it in a function for f.close.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, f.close. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, so it is true now. The object, the file is now closed. All right.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. Now, to avoid this issue of opening a file and not closing it eventually, or forgetting to close, we can read a file with open as something, right? This is the very common way of opening a file. So you just use with open greetings .txt. Let's open in read mode as file. So the difference is that we just use with open as file. So that one would ensure that after we perform whatever we want to do on the file, because with this one now, we have to indent our operation right inside this with command. So whatever we want to do, you can say that content, we can read the file dot read, right? So after we read the file, we can check if the file is f.close. Is the file close?
Shouldn't be, right? Oh, you just closed it.
Close. F.close. So it is true, right? So this
Okay.
with automatically close the file after we perform the operations on it, and it is very good for like avoiding.
How does that do it? Because I don't see where it says closed anywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't say close anywhere, but it's a Python, trick actually to like when you use with something open as this. So after you like have complete the task inside the with statement, it close the file. It automatically close the file. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not explicitly stated, but it's a kind of defensive programming approach whereby you know that, okay, I don't want to be bothered about closing, so close it for me after I'm done.
Defensive programming. So like if you're using like something you don't want someone else to see, and okay.
Yeah,
so
you're right. I mean, defensive in the sense that like for instance, if you are working on a file and maybe your system, something happened to your system in the process or something like that. So by using with, it will ensure that before even the computer shut down or something, it's going to close your file for you, and then your file is going to be saved, and so you will not lose information because it's make sure that it closes the file. So, but if you don't close the file, right, it might be difficult to retrieve the content of the file if you are in the middle of an operation and your system, has an issue. Okay, now we can check. We read the file, right? Do we have the content? Yeah, so we have the content. Yeah, so we save the content of the file in content. So we can write to our file, right? We can write or append to our file. So let's say to do that, we'll say with open, let me copy this. With open this as file, but now we are going to open as in append mode, right? Remember, we have this content in the file already, so we want to append to it. So we'll say that file file dot write this is a new line appended using file dot write. So we can see this will be appended to our file. You see? Can you see that? This
over
is
here
a
on
new
the
line
right.
appended using file dot write. If we write that again, it will be appended also. We have it appended. Another one. This is a new line appended using file dot write. You get that? Does that make sense?
Okay, so what you're saying is that dot A or the comma and then A is the A the append itself?
Yeah, the A is specifying the mode that we want to open. Remember this open here. We can, this is the syntax.
There
right?
it is, append. Okay, that's what I was looking for. The A equals append. Okay, great.
Exactly.
Yep. Okay,
Okay,
great.
so, okay, any question? Yeah.
And so then, the append, to the file, and then we write file dot write. We use the dot write, and then we just add to whatever was there. I see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Anyways, these are not things that we would be doing as a data scientist or a data analyst most times. But there might be a time that we might need to like append something to something. So, but most of the things that a question that I think might require us to work on file will be we have a CSV file or we have whatever .dat file and we want to read it. Pandas or whatever package that we will be using provide easy method to like open the file and read the file. And then from there, maybe we have a data frame, we want to convert it to a CSV. We have also methods for converting to CSV, but I just feel like we should touch all these things before we move on to the next stuff. So you don't need to really bother much about it. So this is the way you open a file, you write a file. You can also use f.readline instead of using f.read or file.read. You can use file.readline, which is going to read one line of the file. Not, remember when we use f.read, it reads everything. We have hello everyone, thanks for checking, created by Naheem and all that. If we use f.readline, it's just going to read just one line. So that one is also possible. Okay, I think the last thing we want to talk about, I think the last thing we want to talk about, is how do we, errors and exception.
I see that it says real line. Is it read line or real line?
That's a mistake.
Okay.
I'm going to use it with open greetings text as f or as file dot
read line.
Let me save that as line 1. So what is line 1? Line 1. So you see, line 1 is just this. Hello everyone, thanks for checking. It's just one line.
That makes sense.
That makes sense.
Okay, great.
It is read line. I made a mistake here.
That's fine. I just wanted to make sure I was hearing it right.
Thanks for pointing that out. Because I'll be putting this thing out or this notebook out in my website, and that's a good point you made there. Okay. Now, errors and exception handlings. So in errors can generally be grouped into 2 types or 2 categories. We have the syntax errors and we have the exceptions. Syntax error is an error that occurs when we use the wrong syntax, when our syntax is not right or something like that. We're going to get a syntax error, right? For example, if I want to like say define area, I want to create a function, area of rectangle, that takes the length and then the breadth.
Base. Yeah. Breadth. Okay.
Yeah. Then I say that area equals length times width, right? Print, and I want to print area. Okay, this is my function. There are some issues with this. You see, I get a syntax error. And what do you think is the cause of the syntax error?
It looks like the ampersand is in, or the the and is incorrect. And
so when we are talking about declaring a variable, right? We know that variable cannot start with this kind of special characters, right? So I have to remove this, right? And also, if I run it again, I get another error. It's also called syntax error. So syntax error are indicated by, syntax error. You are not doing the right thing. You are not using the particular variable correctly. You are not calling the method right and all that. So one thing that you notice about this syntax error is that they are also known as passing errors, right? They occur when you are passing, doing passing of the function, in the sense that why the function is, or during passing of a code might not be a function. They occur because why the function is being run, even before running, because there is different stages of code execution. We have compilation, although we don't see that in Python because Python is higher level and we don't explicitly do compilation and all that. But then during passing of the function, the function is this, with this syntax error, we cannot even define our function, right? Our function is not defined. So this is where the syntax error occurs. So that's why they're called syntax, or passing errors. Now, this is defined now, right? But errors can also occur for statements that are syntactically correct. Like we have the syntax right and it is correct. These kind of errors are called exceptions. So they occur during execution of the code. The passing of the code is correct. We successfully been passed. But then when we are executing the code, there is an error that occurs. So this is called exceptions. And the cause of exception is that one is either it raises an error or it executes, but we get a wrong result because it is not what we expect. So the result we get are not expected. For instance, let's see, we have successfully passed this function. Now let's execute the function. Area rectangle. I say area rectangle for length. I say 3. Breadth, I say ABC. Does this make sense? Okay, let me see. Let me see.
I think, okay.
Okay, you think what?
So like as an X and Y component, we have we have a integer and we have a string. And so, with an X and Y, if we're defining something, then those two variables won't necessarily play well.
Yeah, so you're right. So this is the issues that we face because we want to calculate a rectangle, the area of a rectangle. So definitely the parameters have to be integers or some type of numbers. Can be a float. But if we put an integer and a string, right, we know that we are doing the wrong thing. So the error is going to happen during execution, but then there might not be errors, right? We might get something, but it will be the wrong result, right? In this case, we are going to get, it's going to work here. The code will be executed, but what we're going to get is not what we expect. Let's see.
Okay.
You see, we don't get any errors, right?
Oh, interesting.
ABC, ABC. This is you remember string. You say that we can also perform operation on strings, but then the result is going to be different from what it should be if we are performing the operation on numbers, right? So this works, but then we know that we are really messing things up. Another thing that would not work is if we say that rectangle area, this is not going to work. It's going to give us an error. And do you know what the error is going to be?
Okay, so if we have area, rectangle, and then rectangle area, I'm assuming rectangle area is already predefined in the Python syntax. Is that right?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's my best guess.
you are very,
That's my best guess.
your guess is really close to the answer, right? It's not predefined, but the problem is that it is not defined. It is not defined like the variable we put. We don't. There is no value for it, right? You see, name
Yeah.
rectangle area is not defined.
Uh-huh.
Oh, sorry. Let me see. I should put rectangle breadth here. So what we are saying is that find the area of 3 and this variable, right? And it shows that, no, I can't do that because this is not defined. So what we can do you see the difference between syntax and exception? Syntax error is we get the error when we are passing the codes, but here we get the error when we are executing the code. So what we can change here is that we just need to like define the rectangle breadth, right?
Passing the codes and executing. Okay.
You just say rectangle breadth is 10, right? So when we define that, we get the results that we should get.
That makes sense.
So now we look at what are some common exception types that we can see, right? Let's look at zero division error. We say A is 10, B is 2. If we say A divided by 2, A divided by B, there is no problem, we get 5. What happens if we put B to be 0 here? We get an error. Zero division error. Division by 0. Mathematically that is not allowed to divide a number by 0. So
undefined, right? Undefined of some sort.
exactly. Exactly. So this is going to give an error. This is exception, zero division error. What about name error? We see an example of name error. If you want to print name, I know name has been defined in one of the code cells. So we have name to be Gerard. But what happens if we want to print name with double E? There is no variable with name with double E, right? I don't know. So if we print this, we get a name error. Name is not defined. Then there is type error too. If like let's say we know that what's the type of our name? A string, right? Now, if we want to add two numbers and we mistakenly put 2 plus name, we get a type error. Unsupported operand type for plus. So we cannot do plus of integer and a string. It doesn't make sense. So you see, type error, name error, zero division error. We can also get an index error. Can you guess what kind of operation can give us an index error?
If we're trying to access something that we already have defined and it's not within the range, would that be an index error?
That is it. So when we look at our names, we see we have 4 values there. So the first one is 0 index, 1 index, 2, sorry. Now, if we access element at position 2, we have an. But if we say that we want element at position 20, we say no, index error.
Index error, okay.
Index out of
range.
So you get that. We can also get values error. I think this also happens when we are trying to like enter or performing operations with values that are not supported. I can't think about one let me see. Okay, let's say that you know this input. It takes um a value. Enter the number. Okay, let's say enter the numerator. So when I run this, it's going to ask me to input something. Oh, let me, okay, let's see. 1. So it print 1, right? Let's assume that now the 1 that this thing prints automatically is converted to a string, but I want to convert this thing to an integer. So I'll just say, put all of this thing, whatever number the user inputs, convert it to an integer, right? So when I run this, I say enter the numerator. I say the numerator is 30. So it is converted to an integer. There is no problem, right? Is that your daughter?
That's Freya, yeah. Yeah, she just got up from her nap.
I say,
There she is. Oh, there we go. Ah,
what's
say
that?
hi.
What's her
Hi,
name?
Naheem. Hi, Naheem.
What's her name?
Freya.
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 Hey,
Freya.
how are you, Freya? Really good. Hi.
There we go.
Oh, yeah, there she is.
There we go.
You stand up.
There. Da, 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 da. Mom likes to show her off.
Cute, yeah. That is, she's very cute.
She is. She's fun. She's a little bouncer.
Yeah.
Drives me crazy.
All righty. If you want me to take her, I'll be gone. I'll be leaving here soon. So
Yeah, I didn't see it.
okay, there you go.
I found that important.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, that's really that's really lovely, you know.
It's fine.
I
It's
love
fine.
that. Okay, so when we do this, there is no problem because we input a number and then we converted it to an integer. But if we try to do this for a value that is not a number, this is where the value error arises. So we put Z. Then we get value error, invalid literal for integer with base 10 for Z. So what it's saying basically is that the value you input and you ask me to convert it to an integer is not valid. I need a kind of number to be able to convert to an integer, something like that.
Okay, so as I understand it, so the input, we have an input, and the input is a function, and then enter the numerator somehow knows how to put out 1 because 1 is always a numerator to anything. Is that right?
No. The enter the numerator is like a message that is displayed when we want to get the user inputs. It's just like it. You can say that enter any number, enter a number.
Yeah. Okay.
So if I run this, you see a message that is displayed is enter a number. You can see.
Okay. Up here. There we go.
Yeah.
And then you just put in. And then sorry. So now what do you put in there? Because you've said it needs to be an integer. Is that right?
Yeah, it has to be numbers because you see, I'm using the int method. And it says that convert a number to an integer of base 10. But then if you want to convert to a base 10, it has to be like a number values actually to really convert to base 10. So if I put 3 here, there is no problem. It gets the value right. Right. But if I put Z or Z here, that is where I get an error.
And otherwise, if you don't put int in the front of that, obviously, then it will print. It'll print anything.
Exactly, it will print anything. It will be fine. So if I print Z again, that's fine. So it's the value error arises when we are doing convert or numerical operation mostly. Not numerical operation, but when we are doing operation, we might be trying to do operation that is only supported on string. So when you supply a number, it will tell you, no, I don't know how to handle this operation on number. So it is a value error, right? The value you supply is just not suitable to that operation. All right.
Okay. That makes sense.
There are so many other built-in exception types that Python provides. There are a lot of them. We can just read them here. We have the arithmetic error, right? Like the zero division that we see, the floating point error, and I don't know most of them, but they are there. So when you eat a problem and you see something error, you say, oh, what does that mean? So the floating point error, for instance, is, you can read more about it. The module not found error. This is very popular when you trying to use a module and you have not imported it or something like that. Okay. I'll close this. Okay, but what's the point of showing all of this? The reason why I show all of this is to like show you how we can program defensively. How do we, for instance, we want to write a function, or we want to create an application that takes a user input and then convert it to a kind of square, or what we want to do. I want to kind of bring a very simple project idea. Let's say that we are considering that, okay, write a function that accepts user inputs and find the square of the number. So in that case, what we want is that, if you supply a valid number, fine, there is no problem. We're going to take the number and do the square of the number, right? But if you supply an invalid input, what we want is that we want you to put in another number. That's another supply another value, right? This is the idea. If you supply a valid number, let's say the function is called, okay, I'll just put this in. Write a function that takes a user input and calculates the squares of the number. That takes a number from a user and calculate the squares of the number. Now, let's do this. This is very simple. We say define, we can say that you can just say that x equals inputs, enter the number to square. Now, whatever number the user input here, we want to convert that one to integer. Int. Then we'll just say when x asterisk 2, x squared. So if we run this, we see enter the number to square. We now say 10. So this print 100, right? Does that make sense?
It does. I see that.
Now, if now somebody now take our code now and put let's say just any rubbish number. You see, we get an error, value error, right? Now, how do we address this? I'm going to write something now that we can use try exec statement. What this does is that the way we are going to do this is we will say what we want to execute, try this, right? We'll just put that, whatever we want to execute, we'll put it in try. Or we'll say now except we get a value error. Right? What do we want to do when we get a value error? Now you can
if it's a value error, in this case, so int input, so we have to use an int, and then x int input. So it has to be some value that it recognizes, I assume?
So what we can do is we can print this is not a valid number. No, but the basic idea is that you know, normally when we want to take user input, when they put in something and that value is okay, is good, then we just go on, we take the value, we perform operation, and we show the result. But if they put in an invalid value, right, what we want to show them is that you can show, it's just like, you know, you want to use your this thing, your ATM card, right? It's going to like tell you enter your PIN. When you put in your PIN and it is the wrong PIN, it tells you that no, this value, this PIN is not correct. Try again, right? It tells you to like the value is not correct, so try again, put in another value. So the same thing we want to do here. If we put in a valid number, it's going to take the number and square the number for you. But if you put in an invalid number, it's going to tell you, no, this is not a valid number. So
and in this case, it would have to be like a character. Otherwise, it would really take any number. Is that right?
Yeah, it will take any number, exactly. It can take any number. So, but what we want to do here is that we want to like make this stuff to keep asking you to input another number until, so this is the idea. If you put in a valid number, it takes the value and perform the operation. But if you put in an invalid number, it asks you to put in the number again. It prompts you to put in the number again. So the way we're going to do that is I'm going to use a while true statement, which we have not talked before, but I'm going to explain it. While true. Then I'm going to put break here. You see, these two statements, while true is a statement, this statement while true is for like repeating an operation many times. It keeps repeating the operation until it sees a break statement. So what happens is that, let me break it down. We put while true. What it means is that whatever, like repeat this statement as long as you can, or as long as possible, except you meet a break statement. So we now say while true, try this. If the user, get input from user. If the value is an integer, there's no if, but then we print x asterisk x. X asterisk 2, which is a square. Then we break here. The break here, what it does is that If you perform this operation and it performs this operation without a problem, then we are done. We have collected the user input and then we have printed the value. So break, you don't need to like do
Okay.
anything again.
Mhm.
But if it performs this operation, it collects user input and it tries to like convert it to integer and it couldn't convert to integer, or it could not perform the square operation,
Mhm.
that is an exception, right?
Mhm.
It's going to like come to this except command. It will not
Mhm.
continue. If it perform this operation and there is an error, which is a value error, it is not going to continue. It is going to come to this except command.
What if it's an error, but it's not a value error? And
That
so
is
how
it.
does that exception get
So
handled?
if it is not a value error, then it is going to run this. It is not a value error. It's going to check the except command. If it doesn't,
Oh,
if it does not, if the error is not a value error, then this is not going to be executed. Then we are going to see
oh,
another error, maybe
a different
maybe
error.
zero division error.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
this is a very good question because we can actually do except with many error, zero division error, right? We can do this.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we can say
Okay, cool.
except,
Gotcha.
but we can like, if we don't know, we just want to take all the exceptions. We can just say except, I think it's exceptions.
Oh,
So
interesting.
this one is going to take all the exceptions, even if it is except exceptions. I think I'm not sure.
Hmm.
I'm not getting. Let me quickly to kind of cheat. Okay. No, it's not cheat. So one of the things that except exception. I think there is no S.
Nice. Oh, interesting. Exception is E. Okay.
It's not working. This exception is not saying it as exception.
Except E
I don't know.
exception. Huh, okay.
Except all exceptions in Python. Okay. Is a capsulator.
Oh, it's a capital E. Is
Yes.
that why?
Oh, okay. So this is it. This is it. You just do except only. Just
Accept.
accept.
Oh, no, that makes
that
sense
makes
because
sense,
it
right?
would be simplified, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except. So this is it. It's just like except whatever exception that you encounter, just catch it and
Nice.
print this. So but yeah, we want to catch value error. So again, what this is doing is it keeps repeating itself if
Mhm.
there is an exception. But if there is no exception, it breaks off at this point.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right?
That's nice. Yeah, I
So
like
let's do
that.
it. Now, when we put an invalid, I'll take this thing here. That doesn't. Now, when we put an invalid number here, let's say T, it's going to ask us again. And you see, this is not a valid number. It's print, this is not a valid number.
Uh-huh.
And it asks us again. When we say, okay, P, you see another, this is not a valid number.
Uh-huh.
And it prompts again. Now, when we say 10, now it prints the output 100.
Nice. Got it.
So this is
Got
a way
it.
to like handle exceptions and raise an exception. I mean, like if there's a value error that you want to undo, you use try except.
Nice. Hey, Naheem, that's all the time I have for today. Is that
Yeah,
okay with you?
even me too. So yes, so by next week, I mean Monday, I'm contemplating maybe we should do object-oriented programming or we should just start with the next section. But I will decide by Monday and I will let you know.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, enjoy.
Gosh, thanks so much for your time,
Have a
Naheem.
nice weekend.
You
Very
too,
good.
and let me know about that trackpad too.
All right. I'll let you know. Bye.
See you, man. Thanks.